All right, welcome to Leaving California with the Pore Team. What to expect when considering Dallas. We're doing something different. We don't have Miss Katie back with us anymore, so we have Ivan Stark with us because Katie's leaving Dallas. So welcome, Ivan.
Thank you. I'm happy to be on the podcast.
Awesome. This is going to be an incredibly fun scenario with it being the first one over Zoom. So I can't get up and wander around the house anymore.
Yes, sometimes we'd be in the middle of the podcast and I'd be talking and hanging in there and she goes out and whatever, the kids come down and we could quietly like sneak off and cover each other. But now we're both in video and it's going to make it a little different.
A little bit different.
Right. So you guys can't see me go get some snacks during this, right?
Yeah, that's right, man. That's right. You can't see us getting snacks either. Or yeah. So
now you can.
So welcome. Yeah, no, Katie was awesome. You came highly recommended from her. And so we're looking forward to interviewing you. I know we're at an interesting time in our markets on trying to figure out between us being essential, non-essential, how to keep people safe. So tell us a little bit about you and what got you into the business.
So a little bit about me. I'm a little bit on the younger side when it comes to real estate. I know the average age is, I think, 53 years old. So obviously I'm a little bit on the younger side. I've been in the business for 3 years now.
There you go.
Right. I started when I was still in college as well. So I got into it because of a family friend and I haven't looked back since. So
what did you do? What were you taking to college?
So in college, believe it or not, I was taking classes to be a PA, a physician assistant.
There you go.
So I had hours that I already shadowed. I had a path that I was already on. I had classes lined up, and then all of a sudden, this thing called real estate just came in, and I was like, let's do it.
What was it about real estate that intrigued you and made you jump in?
So for me, really the reason why it was PA in the first place was because it is such a different environment every single day, right? You see some patients in the morning, you do some paperwork, and then you kind of leave around 3 or 4 o'clock, right? That's what appealed to me in real estate is I can't really sit in one spot and do one thing, right?
Yes.
You can go show some houses, you can do some paperwork, you can follow up with some of your clients, and it's just different every single day. And you're not in the same cubicle, you're not in the same spot for 8 hours a day. So that was kind of what really appealed to me about real estate.
Now take that back till now, and we are all in the same spot because we can't leave our house, and we're doing everything online and video, and now we are working out of a cubicle.
So I heard a little bit about what you said, but I'm assuming we're all in the same spot and we can't leave our house right now.
Yep, that's it. I was actually watching a couple things this morning on Tom Ferry, and these agents are just cranking out listing presentations right in their living room or their office, and never even leaving home. They'll go drive by the property, but now it's kind of an interesting aspect. So are you on a team right now, or is it just you, or where do you stand on that?
So it's just me right now. Definitely in the future, I do want to build a team and kind of go down that route so I can offer even more services to my clients. But right now it's just me. And then I do have a small team that does, help me with the listings and helps me with, marketing some of the aspects of it, but they're not directly on my team.
Gotcha. How do you see your guys' market kind of shifting from where you're at like 3 weeks ago till now, in regards to how you're operating?
So so each area is different. I think before the podcast we were talking, I was just explaining how Collin County and Dallas County, they had 2 different guidelines for middle of last month. It was very confusing because we had 2 listings that were going to come up in Dallas County last month, and just a week or 2 weeks before, they were like, well, non-essential, you can't go anywhere, you can't drive anywhere. I even read somewhere about they were giving out fines for people if you were caught outside. doing a non-essential thing. Obviously, if you're getting food, you'll be fine. But so Collin County is also a little bit in the gray area right now. Obviously, now we're all deemed essential. But there was a little dip whenever Dallas County was just completely locked down. So, and there was a conversation about, well, can he do that? Can he not do that? And then our boards, the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and Texas Association of Realtors were both reaching out to the governors and making sure that we were deemed essential, because there was a lot of just things in limbo that you really can't do anything about. So, and you also want to make sure that your client is safe, right? And they're comfortable with what's going on. So that's why it was really weird for like 2 or 3 weeks. Or I mean, still weird now, but it was more weird like a month ago.
Yeah, no, we have a deal right now that we're getting the inspection done on, and the lady is going to be there with their kids, and it's like we got to just prepare everybody to take the appropriate steps because they have to do school. It's made everything a little extra more difficult, taking the precautions to make sure everybody's staying safe, and it's definitely been interesting.
I'd say with inspections and just showing properties, just going in there and opening all the doors beforehand, so just as little contact with the house, with the appliances, with everything as possible, just to make sure, once again, your client wants to be safe, wants to feel comfortable, and that you're doing all you can, in this current situation. So we can only control the things that we can control, right?
Are you guys doing a lot of like virtual tours for your clients that don't necessarily want to leave the house? I know we've been taking in some of those steps if they want to see something, but they aren't able to go out, or they don't know if it's the right house. We've been going to the house and kind of walking them through video, and then setting it up if they wanted to go see it. Are you guys doing a lot of stuff like that too?
So we've done some FaceTime showings. We've done FaceTime showings before with some of our clients who are out of state. And, as you walk around the house, you can show them, the whole property, and you can explain to them where you are in relations to it. And if they have any questions, then you can just answer everything on there. But I mean, it really wasn't much of a big difference because we do have a lot of people coming in from out of town. One of our biggest sources is, agent referrals from outside our state. So we've done a couple where we would do FaceTime showings. So it was a minor adjustment, but obviously not every single person's able to fly out every single weekend until your houses, right?
Yeah.
So what you would do is you would show the properties during the week, and then if they find something that they like, they would fly in that weekend, and then we would physically go show it. So.
Do you guys see any issues with like your guys' state shutting borders down for people coming in? I know there's a few states that are in the talks of trying to isolate the state and keep people out. Are you guys seeing any talk like that might offset even people going to look at a house?
So we've actually had something like that happen. We were working with a client that was coming in from Atlanta, and with all the current things that are going on right now, she decided to not take the specific position here because of the uncertainty of what's going on. So I know Louisiana I believe the border is not closed, but if you're coming in, you have to have like a 14-day quarantine. So I'm sure that will affect it, but we haven't gotten to that point where it's taking effect, because everything with the numbers and the CDC and all that stuff that's coming out, there's a lag with that, right? Kind of like there's a lag with all the things that are coming out down the pipeline from the government. So we'll definitely see something if they do decide to close all the borders down. We'll probably see that in effect, affecting the market here in the next maybe 2-3 to a month, 2 to 3 weeks to a month. So.
Are you seeing, I know we're taking a little bit off track rather than what we usually do on the podcast, but we're in unique situations, so there's questions that are important. But have you guys seen like an uptick in calls for people wanting to move to your area? Because I would assume that we're going to see a lot of people probably wanting to move to areas that have a little more space, especially as we come down with this, because people are afraid of things coming back, or the virus re-coming or reattacking, or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And they might want to get away from like high dense areas like where we live, and a neighbor's 4 feet. and they might want to go out there. So have you seen like an uptick of people calling and asking or inquiring about your area a little bit more?
So I only heard a little bit of that question, and I'm going to answer it, and I'm assuming I'm going to piece it together in my mind. So I do believe people from highly populated areas are going to start coming down and moving to areas with more space. With something like this happening, could take a mental toll on some people, and then maybe they just don't want to live in New York, right? Or maybe they don't want to live in more populated areas, and they do want to go have more of a suburban lifestyle, and to come here to Plano or Prosper, McKinney, some of the areas where you do have a little bit more space between you and your neighbors. So that could be a trend that can happen this year, but I also do believe that the same amount of homes will be sold this year, but instead of the 12 months that it takes, it'll probably be in 9 or 10 months because people still need to move, right?
Yes.
But I would say, but I mean, this could change next week, so it's kind of hard to tell week by week.
And I know some of what we talk about now is going to be irrelevant in a week, and that's what's kind of interesting. And I know we're going to be broadcasting and doing another one of these in probably a month because everything is going to change. So what have you seen? Because even locally here, I mean, we've had a lot of buyers that have said, look, I don't want to go out and look at homes. And we've had a lot of people say, look, I don't want to sell. But we've seen a decrease in our listing activity, but we've also seen more of an increase in the buyers. So whatever's coming on the market is just being absorbed. And that's like Orange County, LA County, San Diego County. So are you guys seeing the same kind of trend there?
I believe now you will have less showings per listing, but you would have more committed buyers per showing, right? So maybe in a property where you would normally have 30, 40, maybe even 50 showings, you might have 10 or 15 showings, right? But they're all going to be very committed buyers who are there to purchase the property because they've done a lot of research online, and they called the agent ahead of the time and figured out all the information about the property, and they know for a fact that they just need to go visit the property just to see the layout and the flow, and then they're ready to submit an offer, right? So I believe that so the people that are still wanting to buy houses now, their family still needs to move, they're going to move now still, right? But they're just going to be more motivated because we like to say that we know what market we're in now, right? But we can't predict what the market's going to be in a month from now, or 2 months from now, right? Or how the mortgage, how the FHA and how all those things are going to be affected, with the unemployment rate and with whatever is going on in the background with the Fed, right? So we can only do with the information that we have now.
So with your active listings right now, what are you guys seeing in regards to showings? We keep freezing up just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And to anyone that's listening, we apologize for the slight delay on the video, but it seems like everybody has been jumping on tech and they're being a little bit overused. So we have been experiencing some technical difficulties, but we're going to keep rolling.
Good. I didn't hear that question at all, so I don't think I can predict an answer for it.
It's okay. I was just explaining it as you kind of froze up that we've had some technical difficulties, but Zoom went from being just a kind of a hobby thing that some people use to now millions of people are jumping on Zoom, and it's kind of bogging down a little bit, but we got to roll with the punches like everything else in the world right now.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting with how everyone quickly jumped to Zoom, and then I think they had some security issues maybe over the weekend or something, and they fixed it, and after that the performance has been like up and down. So
yeah, no, I know we were trying to record yesterday, but we just kept getting bogged down. So hopefully everything comes out clear and good. You want to take on some questions about the area?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of got an idea a few months ago, but is there any new like up and coming restaurants in Dallas that maybe we should talk about? Like, okay, here, hold on. I have a better one. Let me rephrase this. Top 5 favorite places to eat.
Actually,
Oh no.
top
5?
top 5 places that are best to order in right now.
Yes, there you go. Let's go that route. That's a better way.
So there there was a portion where I was a portion of my life where I was a big foodie, right? I would
Yeah.
go to all the restaurants, do all the things. I've kind of cut back on that just a little bit. But I'll tell you, I can't name just 5. There is so many restaurants. There's Mi Cocina, there's Anamia's, there's so many great Tex-Mex places, right? There's so many, Southern cuisine places. Which is great now is you can get margaritas to go. So a lot of people have been ordering, some fajitas, and they'll get 2 or 3 margaritas to go, right? Or they'll get a lot of alcohol to go. It's a great opportunity for you to go support your local business. I know a lot of businesses have been, because I was in the service industry 5 or 6 years ago, and I can't imagine not being able to go out and to do my job right now, or to do my job, but you're taking a risk every single day. So I think we definitely need to support the local businesses and eat as much Tex-Mex and drink as many margaritas as you can.
There you go. What are a couple of the restaurants that are doing, I don't know, call it the most for the area? I know there's some that kind of like stand out that are like giving back or something one way or another. What are a couple of cool things that maybe restaurants locally that are what are they doing?
So locally, I would say they're all doing curbside pickup, right? You don't even have to talk to anyone to get your food. You just pay online and go pick it up. A lot of them have transitioned into using the old chip scanners, so you don't have to even exchange the card or anything like that. So a lot of them taking a lot of precautions. And I would say really the coolest thing for us is the to-go margaritas, and it's the to-go alcohol.
Yeah.
That is literally the coolest thing. We've never had that here. You would get in massive trouble if someone got alcohol to go. But right, that is literally the coolest thing right now.
I know it really takes the open container policy to a different level.
Whole new level.
Right.
Yeah, we have a local restaurant, and I can't for the life of me remember where it was, or even if it's a valid statement. I don't know. Somebody was telling me about a restaurant around here that with every food purchase, you get like a bottle of your favorite bottle of wine half off. So I might have to actually dig deeper into that and find out who it was, because I think that that's super cool too.
Yeah, there's a couple of restaurants that are changing up their menu. They're doing more where you just pay, $40 or $50 and you get a meal for 3 or 4 people, right? For a family, right? So they're making the menu more limited because obviously the expense of having so many different ingredients, and you can't, it's not the same. It's still getting it to go, but a lot of them are doing bigger portions for bigger size families, so someone can just go out and pay and they'll have dinner. And that's one less thing you have to worry about now, especially with everything going on, is to just go out and get some dinner.
Yeah. It's funny because as we're doing this, a lot of the questions that we would typically ask about a community are kind of a tough subject, like schools. Schools are kind of all been transitioning. Are schools out for the rest of the year in Texas?
I believe so. Yeah. Since the last time, that could all change next month.
Yeah.
Right. And we can all be back on to exactly what we're doing. But as of right now, I believe all schools are closed. So I don't see them reopening it. We're in April already. All right. It's about 2 or 3 months left in the school year. So, unless this thing clears up within the next 2 or 3 weeks, which I don't foresee that happening, it'd probably be safer just to close them down for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I don't see them opening back up just because they don't want it to spark up. And let's just face it, kids
are filthy.
Kids are filthy, especially when they're all running around with their friends. One got a runny nose and they're doing this and they're playing.
Yeah, and they're all,
It's our son's in sports and we see it all the time. They're all doing this thing and they got so I don't imagine schools are going to be back in.
This is going to be a harder question because you don't have kids, but do you know anything about their distance learning? Are most of the schools participating in the distance learning?
So by distance learning, assuming you mean Zoom or online.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my kids
forms of
have
media.
Google Classroom, for instance, and their teachers kind of just upload assignments, and then they have to do their daily assignments, and then they have to answer like a daily question so that the teacher knows that they were at least there and doing something. So that's basically their attendance is the question.
So yeah, you're right. I personally don't have any kids, but I've spoken to a lot of clients recently, and all of them have been, ranging from one kid all the way up to like 5 kids, right? And I'm like, God bless, that's 5 children that you have to entertain and feed for the last month, right? That's crazy. But no, a lot of them are talking about how there's online curriculum. Some teachers are doing Zoom. The same thing with Google Classrooms, where people are getting assignments and they have to get them completed. And that's actually one of the biggest complaints is everyone that I've spoken to is they're getting these kids this homework and they don't know what to do on the homework. So the parents have to teach their kids, and the parents don't remember any of it. So they just get frustrated and they're like, I don't know what to do. And then the parent is, and the teacher's emailing them and letting them know, hey, your kid didn't do the homework. And they're like, well, we're trying to figure it out. So it's this whole mess. But I don't know. I think a lot of relationships and bonds are going to be formed during this time with people's kids. Yeah. So I think this is a great time to make those relationships with your kids.
Definitely. I mean, I'll tell you what, though, with this math situation, that Common Core is going right out the window because you do all of this in a box, and we're going to carry and subtract. We're going to borrow and do all of that stuff right now. You're going to learn what I learned.
Yeah, you're going to take it to old school, right? Oh, yeah. And we don't do any of that stuff anymore. I think all the kids nowadays, they have calculators and stuff, right? They all have personal computers, right?
For the most part, yeah, they still got to show their work on a lot of stuff. So I mean, yeah, the kids are out the rest of the year for the most part. So I'm counting for the next 6 months, kids are home. But it still plays a part in there. So a lot of your clients that do have kids, how is that playing in? Because it's not like the schools are changing or anything like that. Schools are still schools. So how has that conversation kind of changed with the people that are looking to move out there?
So really the way that they've always looked, they do their, I always recommend for my clients to do the research online, as well as to call the school district, and the school district will have very specific questions or very specific answers for those questions, and we always want to make sure that we get them to the right source. Yeah. Because sometimes school districts and zoning that changes once a year, once every 2 or 3 years, make sure that they get the correct information. So we're still making sure that they're getting that information. And I believe that, just because the schools are closed for 6 months, doesn't mean, the school is going to change in 6 months, right? Yes. I believe the same research still needs to be done, and just making sure, potentially closer to the summer, I believe.
I think we froze up just a little bit. Hope you guys are all good. Please bear with us as we buffer, and we will be back shortly. You gotta love technology, but it is amazing and has let us all work in different ways than we ever have.
There
all right, there he is.
I don't know what happened.
Tech Tuesday.
We're talking about schools.
Yes.
Yeah, you were carrying on about how they're probably not going to change much in 6 months, and kind of speaking to that, and then you kind of cut off a little bit. But I would agree. I don't think, schools are going to be schools. People are still going to find houses around the schools that they want to be in, that they've researched and found. One of the things that I've noticed here, being that we are deemed essential and we do go out and show houses, we're on the road quite a bit. A lot of road construction, and the roads are nice and clear right now. I think the majority of people that are working right now are loving the traffic, and to an extent, hoping everybody stays home for a lot longer because they're enjoying the drive. But I've noticed a lot of construction going on. So do you see a lot of that out there? while you're driving around. I think right now is a good time for them to get out there and fix the roads because there's nobody on them.
Well, I would hope that everyone would be out there fixing the roads right now because there's literally no one on the roads. It was one of the first things that I think I noticed kind of going into this was there was almost no traffic.
Yeah.
Some of the congested roads or the tollway or the highways that were there that are usually packed, it was like light traffic, right?
Yeah.
So I hope a lot of companies do realize that the working from home model does work. I do understand that a lot of them want people to come into the office, but I think it was Twitter or something that they sent all their employees home, and they've actually seen a large increase in productivity. So I think I would hope that companies kind of learn from that because I used to work in downtown Dallas, and it would take me sometimes maybe an hour to get down there, an hour and a half, depending on how bad the traffic was. And I think that made me more tired than the actual job, right?
Yep.
So when someone doesn't have to drive and sit in traffic for 2 hours a day and they can just work from home and then come in for a weekly meeting or whatever, I think that'll be amazing. And I hope companies learn from this opportunity that people can work from home. It's just a little bit different and people need a little bit of time to adjust.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And so, one of the big hurdles that we're all dealing with right now, I mean, that have kids, is that our kids are home. So it does make these meetings a little more hard. And it's like, I don't know, maybe we can't stay as focused on here because we're worried about the kids running down and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, I do think that this is going to have a huge impact. I mean, we're seeing a lot of the older population getting on and playing bingo with their friends. And
Right.
it's really forcing people to, older people, like our kids are calling grandparents. We just signed up where they could adopt a grandparent.
Yes.
Like in an elderly care facility because family can't go there. So we signed up to adopt a grandma or something.
Just a grandparent. I don't know, but I'm really excited about it.
And so that our kids could actually FaceTime them and hang out because their family can't visit. So,
right.
That's one of the things that we're kind of signing. So it'll be fun to see where all of this does go with business because, I mean, I know your guys' traffic isn't the best. On a normal day, you guys have some traffic issues, just like we do. You guys are a pretty ever-expanding city. Have you seen any major employers having issues in the area with the whole thing? Usually we're talking about employers coming. Have you seen any announcements of big employers maybe coming to Dallas or leaving?
So in the last 5 to 10 years, there's just been a lot of people moving their businesses down here. Toyota is a big one.
Yeah.
I know PGA, they're building their headquarters here in Frisco. That's going to bring in a lot of jobs. And I believe the launch for that is sometime in 2020. So a lot of companies are taking advantage of Texas and the way that they treat their businesses down here, and a lot of people are moving their businesses down here. It's a great opportunity. People's house prices have skyrocketed because of that.
Yeah.
So which is great if you're selling and you're wanting to move up. But the traffic definitely has gotten a little bit more congested, but the roads are ever expanding. I know they're building highways all the time. They're building big roads all the time. So but the thing is the same thing what we talked about earlier, that is usually, in terms of this virus, maybe 2 or 3 weeks behind, but the traffic and the structure of roads, that's 3 or 4 or 5 years behind sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as they expand it to 4 lanes, right, well, we need 5 lanes now, right?
Yeah.
So it's just an ever evolving traffic versus how fast we can build these roads and how quickly we can build more houses, more affordable homes. So it's just it's a balance, and I think a lot of cities are doing a really good job, with the city planning, urban development. So it's a very exciting time here in Dallas.
Here's an offset of a question. Have you noticed the skies getting more clear in your area with the less traffic being out?
I was going to ask that.
So, I mean, not really. I know some other places, I think in California or maybe even Austin, and just even places around the globe, just seeing the before and after pictures, I think is really cool, because all the smog and all the pollution is gone
Yeah.
from those. But I hope we, keep it that way. So.
It has gotten amazingly so much clearer out here. We live in Huntington and a couple blocks from the beach, and I go run pretty much every morning. But dude, like the view
Mhm.
of Catalina up to like the port of Los Angeles is just amazing. Like it really has like just cleared up dramatically here.
Yeah, I want to drive up to the mountain just to look, because there's a point in our local mountain area where you can just look over the whole valley, and I mean honestly, you can probably see the ocean with as clear as it is at this moment. But I just want to see what it looks like now.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do right now, especially with, I mean, how many times in our lifetime are there going to be no cars on the road and, everything is going to be this clear? Hopefully lots of times, but I mean, right now, definitely go out and be a good time to go take a hike, right? Do
Yeah.
some nature stuff. I mean, it's good social isolation as well.
You guys are in like the oil mecca of a state. How is your guys' gas prices?
So these gas prices are as low as I've ever seen them. Um, Granted, I was not around in 77, or I forgot whenever the oil crisis was. I think there was multiple oil crises actually, but right now the oil prices are low. One of my close friends, he actually works for a big oil company in Oklahoma, and they're seeing the effects of what's going on with the whole oil wars going on right now. So oil is definitely a big thing here in Texas. So hopefully the oil prices don't stay, the price per barrel doesn't stay low for too long, because we definitely want to maintain and make sure these companies don't go bankrupt or they don't have any financial issues.
Yeah. We're seeing gas at $2.49 a gallon in California right now.
$2.49. I think it was less than $2. I think like a week ago when I got gas.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. My brother-in-law just texted me Idaho's at 205. So not only this is like the perfect storm to go out and drive. Like when you really break everything down, there's no cars on the road. Gas is cheap. It's like the perfect time for a road trip.
I don't know. I feel like I'm 16 again. Cheap gas, summer break, but I'm grounded.
Are we freezing up?
Yeah, it's time to do a cross-country Disney World trip, right? Except for Disney World's closed. So.
Yeah, it'd be the perfect time to experience it. Disney actually just announced that they're going to give out their churro recipe.
Ooh, that's
so
wonderful. People
can make churros at home and simulate like they're at Disneyland. So it's kind of fun to see like the things that people are doing. What is there any like businesses, local businesses in your area that really stand out that have really like stepped up and gave back or really helping in this whole situation that would really come to mind?
I wouldn't say any specific, but I know a lot of the smaller doctor offices and a lot of the smaller businesses have started donating their personal protective equipment to the hospitals. I know a lot of people have been very charitable to a lot of charitable organizations. There's just been a lot of giving back from I think every business sector here, and I think here especially everyone kind of treats each other as family. Southern hospitality. So I mean, I know with some of the stores, they've done hours where, or if it's senior citizen hours, right, or people with compromised immune systems or any issues where they're afraid to go out, they have specific times for them to go visit the stores where there's not a big line and they can get whatever they need and they can get out. I know a lot of places have started doing where you can kind of pull up and you can tell them exactly what you need and then they'll go run in the store and get it for you. So I know a lot of businesses have been adjusting, which is great because we want to make sure that the businesses do stay open, because we don't want to just have Amazon and Walmart at the end of this, right? We want to make sure that the small businesses and everything survives. And I believe the restaurants have stepped up. I know for a lot of the seniors, that's how they get most of their meals, is that they would go out eat out at a restaurant. So a lot of them started doing free deliveries, or like no charge, or like I said, curbside pickup, right?
Yeah.
So I know a lot of businesses have stepped up, and this is a great time to to support those businesses, because they are taking a risk with staying open, right? So they do what they can, and I think we should support them.
All right, let's take it to out in your area. I know we live in the beach area, so we've seen a lot of people come down here, which is not a good thing for us because we got a lot of people coming down here. They've had to take steps to close the beach. They're closing a lot of like heavily trafficked like monuments that people hike about. But what are you seeing like outdoor wise? Because a lot of people are just getting out. Like we've been going on more bike rides. What is a couple good local outdoor activities that you think are a good spot to go and kind of free your mind for you local Dallas people?
So I'd say most of the neighborhoods here in Collin County, they do have a park within their neighborhood. Usually there's an elementary school and there's a park around there.
Yeah.
I would say just go to your local park. I know Arbor Hills should be open still. White Rock Lake should still be open unless something's changed since the last time I saw it, which I'm not responsible for anything that's changed in the last 10 minutes.
Right.
So a lot of great places. I've definitely seen a lot more people outdoors walking, riding their bike. I mean, usually in the morning, there's a lot of people, and especially in my neighborhood here in Plano, there's a lot of people taking their dog out before they go to work, or jogging or riding a bike. But now, I come out maybe 11 o'clock or at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, before, if it's 85 degrees today, so I didn't do that. But when it was like 75, there's a lot of people walking around. This is a great time to meet your neighbors from a distance.
Yeah.
So if you see them far away, you can wave at them, but don't give them a hug.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's funny. We actually it's just such a natural habit to go up and shake somebody's hand. And like,
Right.
I still find myself, like if I went and go meet with a new client that I met with, we've been talking and I went and met with them. At first instinct was shake hand, and we look at each other like, oh, they got back up like air nuts or something. So it has been like, even we had a client that his father is a veteran. And I even told him, I just said straight up, I said, I feel so disrespectful by not shaking your hand.
Right.
Thank you for your service. It's just like the most common thing. And it really bothered me. But like you said, you guys got to like respect the boundaries, and it is what it is. So let's kind of talk about the market and what you're seeing out there. Where was the market 4 weeks ago, and where are you kind of at right now?
So there has been a little bit of a slowdown, but I mean, not that much. I did have, let me just pull this up really quickly. So I did have some stats that I got ready to kind of let you guys know. But in the last 7 days, our MLS, so the multiple listing service, and that covers Dallas, Fort Worth, and the surrounding areas, we've had 2,200 new listings come up.
Wow.
Right. So the people who are still needing to sell their home and move are still selling, or still putting their house in the market and moving. And the people who are wanting to buy these properties are still buying. I mean, we've had 2,600 solds in the last 7 days as well, right? So that's 2,600 families that have gotten into a home within the last 7 days. So I think there is a weird, I don't know how to put it, but I think, so there's people that are seeing what the market is doing now, and they're getting in before any disruption or anything happens. And there's also people that are wanting to wait, and they don't want to go out and look at houses, right? So there's a weird balance between, let's get into this now before anything happens, or before anything drastic happens. Maybe they do make us non-essential again, right? And we can't close on the property for maybe 60 days, right? So if you're moving between houses, or your lease is about to come up, right? So what are you going to do, right? You're going to have to extend your lease. You might have to pay a penalty. And you just want to avoid that, right? So it's a weird balance between let's get it out quickly and because we know what's happening, we know what the market's doing, but at the same time, some people just want to make sure that they're feeling safe and they're comfortable, right?
So you've had 2,200 new listings come up and 2,600 have sold in the past 7 days.
Yes.
So more properties are selling than being listed right now.
Right.
So I do get it. We've talked to several people that don't want to list right now because they don't want people coming in. I mean, you are looking at some health situations, whether they let one person, I mean, you're letting someone in your home. So you do have that. We've talked to several people that have lost their jobs or temporary layoffs. So we're losing buyers. So it's like we're losing people out of necessity, or not necessity. Is that the right word? Whatever. We're losing people because they're older. They don't want people coming in, or people have lost their jobs. So it's not that they don't want to. It's just undue time. They can't. But we're seeing the same exact thing. I mean, we put a listing up. We literally had one showing over the weekend, and we got an over asking price offer.
Wow. Right.
And we had one other person cancel, wanted to set up a showing. Their buyer had canceled, and that's it. And so I think you're right. I think a lot of people are sitting back and doing more research and just like, okay, this looks like it has everything we need. Let's go look. And they're kind of analyzing things a little bit more and looking past everything that this doesn't really meet their criteria. What are you seeing for your clients that want to buy? What are you seeing on the other end that listing agents are requiring if you want to go show the property? Are you seeing listings that won't let people in, or that are like subject to inspection, or what are you kind of seeing that's different?
So it really depends if it's a vacant listing or not. I think that's the biggest, and vacant obviously meaning there's no living in it and it's an empty house with nothing, right? Because then it comes down to me going in there and making sure all the doors are open and still make sure that my client doesn't touch anything in the house, right? None of the doors, coming in with gloves, maybe even some disinfecting wipes, right? And just making sure that they're coming in, and we're doing as much as we can to keep them safe. With non-vacant houses, I've seen a lot of listing agents ask for approval letters in advance, and maybe even sending their home video tour of the property before, right? So, and I think that's the best thing that we can do right now is to make sure that we give our buyer clients as much information as possible before we take them to the house.
Yes.
Right. Because if you can see the flow on a virtual tour or a matter report, right, and that there's something you don't like, then, or you realize that actually, well, the pictures showed it this way, but actually the layout is completely different, then we don't have to go see that house. And the less houses we have to go see, there's less exposure to, and then less people running through these houses, right? Obviously, not doing open houses anymore because you don't want 30 people in your house at a time.
Yeah.
Right. We like to host big open houses. We like to, door knock all the neighbors and invite everyone in and have a really good time. But we can't do that anymore, right? Because one, I don't want to go door knock on 100 people's doors because that's going to freak them out because of what's going on right now, right?
Oh yeah.
And I also want to make sure we don't have 30 people in one house in one spot, right?
Yeah.
So it just really all depends on making sure your client's well educated and giving them all the information before, and making sure that they read everything and they're really committed to the house. And then, then we can kind of build that case and, let the selling agent know, hey, we've looked at everything. Our client is very, very interested. If you would like to be there as well, we can make it happen. But so like kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, there's going to be less showings, but the showings that are going to be there are going to be more motivated.
Right.
Yeah. Are you having more conversations about what people do for a living? I know it's not something that we would typically talk about too much. We're just more interested in how much they make and do they qualify. But we've went back and really started analyzing, like on the listing that we just got an offer. It's like, okay, just right off the bat, she just came and she's like, look, one of my buyers is a cop and one of them work in a hospital. Their jobs are secure. Because, I mean, we have a deal in escrow. We're not representing the buyer, but we're like almost done. And the other agent calls and said, hey, my client just took a pay cut. He might not be able to qualify for the house. So is that something that you guys are really looking at as well out there?
I think now more than ever. So we've always had a good relationship with the buyer's lender. So when we represent the seller, we always want to make sure we check in with the buyer's lender, every 3 to 5 days, because, if there's something that's an issue, I want to be the first to know about it so I can let the buyer agent know to let the client know, right? Yeah. Because we want to have a proactive approach and make sure that we have as much information and as much, overview and, of everything that's going on at the moment. And now more than ever, reaching out to that lender, maybe even, every 2 days, and making sure, hey, is your buyer qualified, right? Has anything changed since the last time that we spoke, right? How's everything going? Are you seeing any difference, with FHA or VA? Are they cutting back? Are they not? What is happening? Making sure that we stay in the loop, because maybe they do need an extra 15 days because, something is bogged down, or there's not enough people in the office that are working, right? And it's easier to find that out, 2 or 3 days into the transaction than it is 5 days before closing, right? Because that's when all the stress starts to go up, and that's when the people don't start trusting each other. So we want to make sure that we have everything covered and everything, in clear communication way before we even get anywhere near closing.
Yeah, we've been noticing a lot more team dynamic with all the parties involved, really just staying in touch more than we ever have. I think a lot of agents, when we get a deal accepted, we're just like, everyone's just doing their job, not a lot to worry about for the most part. But I mean, we're checking in with a lot of the lender title, like just make sure everybody's working cohesively and communicating. We are seeing longer time. Instead of 30 days, we're seeing 40 days requested by the lender, because things are taking a lot longer. Because I mean, we are all forced to work at home. Title companies their county recorders offices aren't open. So we're seeing a lot of things that are creating delays. So the last deal we took is a 40-day, and that's at the request of a lender. So we're starting to see a little bit longer as well. Price point wise, what are you seeing? Are you seeing like high-end properties moving as well? Or is this a lot of what's selling more in the lower end, affordable bracket? Or what are you kind of seeing on that end?
So probably about since last year, properties that are considered luxury, I believe there are 750 now. They have slowed down just a little bit. Yeah. It's definitely not what it was 3 or 4 years ago, or maybe even 2 years ago. I know 2 years ago, everything was moving very quickly. And 3 years ago, it's funny, I actually got into business, and one of the first properties I was showing, there was, I believe, 10 agents there at the same time. So I pulled up to the curb, and I was, and there's a bunch of people outside this house, and I was new, I didn't know what was happening, and it turns out that they're all on the line to go show the property, right? So we don't have that anymore, but it's still moving. There's still multiple offers. There's still people coming in and out. Obviously the properties on the lower end in the more traditional market, they're moving quicker. A lot more people are able to afford them now with the interest rates. With whatever's happening with the interest rates, their buying power is going up a little bit. So I kind of forgot what question you asked, but hopefully that answered that.
Just the price range and how quick they're selling. If you're seeing a majority of what out of like the 2,600 homes that have sold, are those in the more affordable area, or are those luxury as well?
So most of those are going to be in the more affordable area. I would say if you do kind of a graph with, the biggest peak will probably be more in the the 250 to 400 area, and then obviously it's going to level down as you go towards most of the higher end and even the mega luxury properties. So it's interesting, the neighborhoods. Some neighborhoods are different than other neighborhoods. Some neighborhoods move quicker than others. I'm sure you guys have that same thing, that there's some neighborhoods that are way more desirable, or some neighborhoods where people just don't sell their house, right? Yeah. If a house comes up, it's going to have multiple offers within a couple hours. So it just all depends on the specific area, the dynamic. I mean, there's the school districts, there's so many different things that are going in. That's why we want to make sure whenever we're talking to our clients is we figure out what area they want to move in, what school district they want to stay in, what are the key neighborhoods so we can keep an eye out, or, we can kind of educate them more on those neighborhoods.
What are like the top two most common neighborhoods that people are looking for when they're considering Dallas? Do you have a couple neighborhoods that like stand out that people will just call you up and say, hey, I want to move here?
So I don't have two neighborhoods, but I would say a lot of people are wanting to move to, so the people that are coming back from college right now, I think their hotspot right now would be McKinney or the Colony. The price point is a little bit more affordable there. You can still get depending on the area. Obviously, there are luxury areas in both. I would say going further up north is where most of my first-time home buyers are deciding to go, because you can still get a very affordable home, a newer home, right? That's built in the last 5 to 6 years. That's still affordable and not, in the 350s, the 450s, the 550s, which the new builds are building in. And then kind of the people that are wanting more of a family, the typical suburb, I would say Plano, Frisco, Allen, still McKinney. I mean, this is just a really good hotspot because it's close enough to Dallas, but it's also far away to where you get that suburban feel. And the people that are working in Dallas, I would say are either living in different spots of Dallas. I would say in Mesquite, Garland, you're still about 20, 30 minutes away from downtown Dallas, Richardson, Louisville. So it just depends on the specific buyer. It's kind of hard to say that these neighborhoods are just on fire right now. Everyone's moving there right now.
Yeah.
Right? It just depends on what the lifestyle that the client wants.
What are typically the top 3 things that people ask you when considering Dallas? So if someone is looking, since you deal with a lot of relocation people, what are typically the top 3 things that people want or want to know?
So usually people want to know what the tax rate is on the specific neighborhood or the school district or the city that they're living in. They also want to know more about the school district, which we get them in contact with someone from the school district so they can ask all the questions. And they want to know how far it is from their job, because 15 minutes in traffic versus 30 minutes in other, the 15 minutes you can travel a long way here, right? So it just depends on what roads and where they live, and they really kind of reach out to us and make sure that and we kind of tell them how to get to work faster, or it's really hard to say over Google Maps how far something is. So making sure where it is, and also a good question is the lifestyle that they're getting when they're moving there, right? So what are the restaurants like? What's the food like? What if you're wanting more of a nightlife experience with clubs and bars, then maybe something closer to downtown Dallas would be your thing, right? If you're wanting more of a suburbs country feel, maybe somewhere up in Prosper, bigger lots, less neighbors, less people, right? Maybe that's where you want to go, right? So it just all depends on what the lifestyle that the client wants to have.
What are your guys' typical tax rates? Because I know Texas probably has some of the more higher property taxes. What do you typically see per the areas, and do they vary a lot? Or are they pretty consistent?
So Collin County is going to have so yes, they vary a lot, and it all depends on the school district and some of the other the facilities that is provided by the city. I know Dallas has a higher tax rate because one of the public hospitals that is there is Parkland, and Parkland Hospital takes up some taxpayer money, right? The school district there is a little bit higher in terms of tax rate. So it just all depends on specific areas and the city, because there's some cities that go to Plano ISD, but they're not Plano, right? Okay. So it's very specific to where they are, and we can always pull that for them anytime they look for a property.
Gotcha. What are you guys open enrollment, or are you guys district zone for schools?
So I'm assuming open enrollment means you can live anywhere in the city and go to whichever school you want. Yep. So we have school districts with the boundaries, and then if you're located in that school district boundary, then you would go to the specific school. So, and once again, it's very different depending on the city that you're in, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, I grew up in Garland, and the schools worked, 1 through 5, and then you have 6 through 8, and then you have 9 through 12, right?
Okay.
So when I moved to Plano, the school districts here were, 1 through 5, 6 through 8, and then 9 and 10 was a school, and 11 and 12 was a school, right?
Oh, really?
And then Allen, Texas, they have the same thing with the elementary school and the middle school, but then they have 9th grade as a separate building, and then 10, 11, and 12 in one big building. So their school is literally the size of a shopping mall, right?
Really?
Because they have the whole city goes to one school. And that's why they cheat at football, because they have more people to choose from.
That's funny. What how big is sports in Texas?
Big. Football, Friday night football in high school was definitely really an awesome experience.
Yeah.
And I think that and all the sports here are really I think are really big. I know especially here in this school district, I used to play tennis on varsity here, and I mean, if you got past districts, you're pretty much almost a state. So there's a lot of talent here. A lot of people are coming here. I know a lot of people move to specific schools for the sports.
Gotcha. So that's that's a big thing then, the sports programs for a lot of the schools when people are looking.
Yeah. I'm obviously biased towards my high school, but I know, go Wildcats. I know a lot of the schools are very competitive, and there's a lot of people that are looking for talent in our school districts here. A lot of scouts. I know a lot of people get scholarships and full rides to universities. So there's definitely a big thing for sports.
Gotcha. That's actually something we really didn't touch on the podcast in Dallas with Katie, is how big sports is. I mean, we touched on sports, but I don't think really youth sports.
We just touched on how much better Houston is than Dallas.
Oh.
I don't know about that. I do believe all Dallas sports teams are better than anything in Texas. Besides maybe the San Antonio Spurs, they're really good. But we did win a championship in 2011, Dallas Mavericks.
There you go. So let's see, to kind of wrap things up. I know it's hard. We can't really talk. I mean, we'd love to talk about the city, but there's just so much going on. I did read that baseball is trying to start their season in May. Football is doing all their drafting all live streaming. And I did read that Dana White is actually buying an island so he could host UFC fights with no one involved but the fighters. So we should probably see some live UFC here real soon.
Yeah.
But no, outside of that, what is the one restaurant we would go to once quarantine's over? Where would we go and grub down?
So I've been really craving Tex-Mex, and I'm gonna say Mi Cocina. They have Mambo taxis. It's these big margaritas, and then they also have a Mambo limousine. And kind of the joke behind that is if you have one Mambo taxi, you're gonna get a taxi home. So the food here is amazing, and that's definitely I will go there as soon as they open up, so I can eat a bunch of chips before the food actually gets there.
There you go. All right, man. If you want to give one last shout out about who you are and how someone could get a hold of you, we will have all your contact info below in the video for YouTube and the podcast. But go ahead and give one last shout. Maybe say, if somebody's looking to move to Dallas, especially right now, how could you specially help them out?
So if you're looking to move to Dallas right now, we would love to have the opportunity to help you out. Like we mentioned in the podcast before, we take extra precautions to make sure that you're safe, to make sure that you're having as little contact with the house as possible. We do a lot of virtual tours, so you don't have to come down here unless you know exactly what you want. So, and my information, Ivan Stark, and you want my phone number, or should we just put some digits in there and then like reveal them throughout the podcast.
There you go. I'll just put one number at a time, and you gotta watch the whole podcast.
You gotta watch the whole thing to get the full phone number.
Right.
You know what? Before I interrupt you and make this podcast go longer than it should, have you guys seen the Tiger King?
Oh gosh.
Oh, dude, the memes are just endless on it.
Carol Baskin did it.
They're so good. I'm on episode 2, and the guy was talking how he posts like YouTube videos, and he does like a TV show every single day. And and I'm here struggling to put up a YouTube video once a week, and just cranking them out every single day. So
if you could take one thing away from the Tiger King, is that the guy is resilient, and he was definitely all about putting content out. Mm-hmm. Whatever it was about, whether you support what he was doing or not, it was one of the most interesting shows. The guy did run for president and governor.
Right.
But the guy was content driven, and he really did put out stuff all the time. I mean, yeah, you got
it. He was motivated. He was there, and he was just pushing every single day.
With his mullet and everything, dude. It's an interesting show, and just memes galore. Every time I go on, I did a reference on one of my last Instagram posts with Zoom meetings and the Tiger King's mullet. Like, cause dude, I've seen people like on Zoom meetings, they all got like their shirt, their jacket, and like a tie, but they're wearing like sweatpants, and house slippers. So it's like a mullet, like business up top, party on the bottom.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think at the end of this, every one of us is going to have a mullet because our hair is growing out. But I think my favorite thing on there was how everyone always told the cameramen what to do.
Yeah.
Hey, could you get me a shot of me doing this and this? And they're like, oh, I get this is your show, but I'm actually in it, so I'm going to tell you what to do.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty funny. That was a good one. You'll enjoy the rest of it.
Yeah, I still need to finish. There's 5 more episodes left, so no spoilers.
No, we won't spoil it for you. But no, Ivan, hey, it was good talking with you.
Yes.
And you did come highly recommended with Katie. I know we actually all had a chance to meet. Katie's been awesome. I know Dallas is a heavy area that a lot of people are moving to constantly, especially from California, and you guys are growing like crazy. So we appreciate your time, and we appreciate what you're doing out there, keeping everyone safe as we all try to figure our business out on keeping homes moving, keeping people safe. And we look forward to networking with you. And yeah, man, being in touch. So we appreciate you listening. All Ivan's info will be below. And if you're considering moving to Dallas, please reach out to him. He is full of knowledge and just a joy to talk to, and really does know the area well. But it is just hard to talk about restaurants because, let's just be honest, we don't know if some of them are going to be there after this. We don't know how long we're going to be out. So we will be doing a recap maybe in a month, one thing straighten out a little bit and talking more. So we appreciate your time today. Have a good one.
Thanks, Ivan.
Thank you.